I've sort of come to realise my life revolves around taking various liquids or solids and either making them liquid or solid again.
It's like, this is my life.
This is my life, yeah.
Hi guys, welcome back to another week of Art Life. In this week's episode, we're doing something slightly different, continuing our series of Portrait of an Artist's Practice. This is the third video. It's called Portrait of a Sculptor, and it is about a dear friend of mine, Gus Farnes. So enjoy.
My fundamental interest, I think, is really about people and about sharing ideas, and I make work in response to people that I've met or interactions that I've had, and so the essence of my work really is to try and capture that and communicate it in a figurative form that we can all relate to. As a child, I grew up always making things with my hands in order to express what I was seeing. Really early on, I used to go to a breakdancing club and I'd photograph the dancers, and then I would try and make sculptures based on the photographs. So they might have been welded together from scrap metal. I used to get sections of exhaust pipe from a local business. A great friend of the family recognised this endeavour and invited me to his foundry to watch a bronze pour, and that was my formal introduction to bronze casting. I was just blown away, and I just thought, I've got to do this. My chosen medium is wax. It's what I fundamentally model in. I start all my work in. Sort of probably strangely for an artist, I find clay really frustrating to work with because I really don't like getting my hands dirty. and it's frustrating. You've got to keep it moist. You've got to keep it under wet rags. It cracks. It changes. For me, it's a sort of slow and binding process, whereas wax it can be very immediate. You can cast it. It has multiple states of fluidity. Most importantly for me, you can cast direct from a modelled wax. So it removes the whole mold making process, and it allows me to work quickly and instinctively and also create unique works. Yeah, so landscape and environment is a really key aspect of my work, because as people we're influenced and affected by our landscapes and the environments in which we grow up in, or evolve in, or come of age in. And in many cases you can perhaps even say that we're products of our environments. And so I've always sought to create my works referencing those in-environments. So I might incorporate materials from them. So in London it would be sort of detritus from the street. In the countryside, leaves, sticks, anything with a texture or something that sparks my imagination or interest. And we've all been there. You're walking along the beach and you see a stone that captures your interest, and you pick it up and you look at it and you put it in your pocket and you ask yourself, there's millions of stones here, why did I pick up this specific one? I might have walked past it millions of times before, but now it speaks to me, and that's how I kind of like forage and find aspects of interest. Ultimately, what I'm looking to do is, I'd love for these objects to be physical, but I do feel slightly conflicted in their scale and in their form, and I'm finding myself asking, like, am I a good ancestor? having the ambition to make like a 30-metre high figure in stone or bronze and situating it in a landscape is maybe not the coolest thing to do. And so I've kind of landed on the idea of creating a virtual environment that I can invite people to, or that perhaps people can enter in their own free will and explore an actual landscape with these monumental works situated within it, and by virtue of virtual reality, commune and talk with each other. That's what I'm grappling with at the moment. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's not lost on me that, you know, my process and my art isn't particularly environmental. The waxes that I use are derived from oils and from petrol refinery or oil refinery. You know, the bronze is a copper alloy, which is from the earth, and I use gas to generate the heat and the energy required to melt it. As we're heading into climate crisis, could we be better, and how could we be better? And maybe referencing the past, or looking at the past and how people lived might help. I think one of the most powerful artistic statements, I forget the artist's name, it's an American artist, and she just gave up making because she, in her view, her contribution was, is damaging in terms of, the world doesn't need any more objects. And to me that's so profound, but I just can't help myself. I've got to keep adding to it.
I'll get it as straight as possible. Okay.
And it's, for me, the form really is about the economy of expression. How can you communicate the biggest thing in the simplest way? One of the beauties of working in bronze is the resolution of the material. As it cools, it just expands like just ever so much, and that forces it into the detail of the mold. So within one of my works, you can see my fingerprints. You can see my hand and my gestures and my mark making, but you can also see the materials that I've selected from the environment. So you can see the veins in leaves or the fibres in grasses, and these are organic materials that are their lifespan is fleeting. The leaves fall off the trees and they rot and they're gone, but they're sort of fossilised or immortalised in the fabric of the sculpture. I've searched for ways and methods of scaling my work, and I found 3D scanning and the advent of that technology to be exactly right for what I'm trying to do. So it enables me to create unique works at monumental scales or infinitely scaled, and it's a really exciting way of working for me. And with the combined use of virtual reality, you can model and sculpt and work on a form in a way that just isn't accessible in a studio environment, because you can flip an object upside down and edit and mold and work the underside of it, or you can have a bird's eye view of the piece. It's a really exciting and interesting way of working. Digital modelling and 3D scanning is another tool in the sculptor's toolbox, and it's easy to be very nostalgic of the past and of process and become wedded to certain technical processes, but I'm fairly sure if the old masters were alive today, they'd be utilising it.
Donatello with a 3D printing.
He'd be all over it, wouldn't he? He'd be all over it. really mad thing about 3D printing. I discovered the Rodin Foundation had 3D scanned seminal works of his and made them available for download. So for like €7 or something, you can buy a file and print it. And for me as a sculptor, this is just mind blowing because, you know, I have access to, you know, to his work in real life in my studio now. In a way that you just couldn't comprehend, or in a scale that you couldn't comprehend. So, you know, being able to buy and download and print a walking man that's 150 mils tall and to sit and look at it and contemplate it is, you know, pretty cool. This is this is a 3D scan taken from a Hepworth in Battersea Park. But, you know, being an art lover and a sculptor and an absolute fan of Hepworth's work, I just can't resist. You know, the opportunity that 3D scanning and 3D printing is, you know, makes available.
Would you ever consider putting your works available up online?
I would love to make my work available online, but I'm crippled by the fear that perhaps no one will want it. No, as a young artist, I remember selling my first work. I participated in a group exhibition in Norwich and I undervalued my work monumentally, and it sold really fast, and then afterwards I was just heartbroken because I wanted to keep that piece so badly for myself, and I spent, it must have been like 2 or 3 years trying to remake it, and I still think about it now, and part of my sort of evolution or maturity as an artist is understanding the idea of like sharing and what it is that I'm trying to do, and I feel that without sharing and without my work going out into the world and finding new homes, that it's just not, you know, it's not that it's not working, but it's about sharing, isn't it? And it's about discussions, and it's about meeting people and sharing and those experiences, and I love nothing more than you know, participating in exhibitions now, and I love it when someone engages with my work to the extent that, you know, they want to own it and they want to live with it in their home. It's the best feeling in the world. My name's Gus Farnes and I'm a figure-based artist.